top stories. The Supreme Court has read the Riot Act on hate speech. In fact, they are also calling for immediate action against anyone making these hate speeches. They are telling the police, don't wait for any complaint. Take suo motu cognizance and act against hate speeches. In fact, what they have said is this, and these just, by the way, are the strongest comments by the top court as far as hate speech is concerned. I'm quoting the Supreme Court now. They have said, this is the 21st century. Where have we reached in the name of religion? They were doing this and they were saying this while hearing a petition on hate speeches and directing authorities to act against such instances by themselves or face contempt charges. This is what the court said. They said contempt will be initiated if authorities fail to act. They also said it is the state of affairs in India was shocking for a country that is supposed to be religion neutral. Let me go straight across to Harish, who is joining us on the broadcast. Harish, thank you very much for joining us here at the top of 6. Some very, very stern comments coming in from the Supreme Court. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these are the toughest words that the Supreme Court has spoken against hate speech.
Yes, that's right. By far, the strongest observation coming from the Supreme Court as far as the menace of hate speech is concerned. The Supreme Court has very, very clearly said that a climate of hate prevails in the country and this cannot be ignored, and has sought very, very clear stand from the governments of Delhi, Uttarakhand and the UP as far as several Dharam Sansas is concerned, and also took serious view of the hate speeches by even Muslim leaders also. And so that action should be taken irrespective of religion. And Supreme Court also sought action taken hate speeches made by BJP MP Parvez Verma and others in Delhi on October 9 against the Muslim community. Supreme Court called for immediate action against anyone making hate speeches. Supreme Court has asked police chiefs in Delhi, UP and Uttarakhand to provide details of action taken against persons indulging in hate speech, and said that action should be taken irrespective of religion. Supreme Court bench led by Justice K.M. Joseph agreed that prima facie that climate of hate prevails in the country, and ordered that, and even if there is no complaint, if any evidence of hate speech comes to the notice of state authorities or police, they have to take suo motu action and should not be, otherwise contempt of court action can be taken against them. And Supreme Court has also said that the country should harmony.
Harish, just give me a moment. There are a lot of observations that the Supreme Court has made, but let's quickly get in reactions to this big story that is now developing this evening. Mr. John Dayal is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Dayal, as I said, some very strong observations, comments, and a strong order by the Supreme Court as far as hate speech is concerned. Do you think it'll be enough to stop hate speeches in India?
Yeah. The Supreme Court order has not come a day too soon. It was long overdue, and I'm glad that the Supreme Court has been severe in its observations. Hate speech is evil in itself. It creates an environment of hate, makes neighbor against neighbor, sometimes within the family, and when coming from the mouth of a minister or a politician or a mullah or a panditji or a Christian father, it creates a sort of deep schism in society. Having said that, as the Supreme Court has made very wide-ranging observations, the police now need to be taught to differentiate between political commentary, dissent, opposition, and hate speech. Hate speech, targeted speech, leads to violence. If you abuse somebody and say he's evil, he's anti-national, the neighbors can act and then kill the man. It has happened, we have seen many times in the last 3 years. But dissent should not be covered under that. Criticizing the government, criticizing the Prime Minister, criticizing the Congress President are within understood and accepted norms. Also, because this has often been used against religious minorities, the police need again to be taught. Saying that Hinduism is good, saying that Christianity is good is not hate crime. Targeting somebody else, saying you are evil and I'm good, that's a hate crime. And I think the police would now need to be taught, because the Supreme Court has said that the police can take suo motu action without a complaint. The onus now is on the police, particularly of the northern states, who are anyway largely illiterate in law and often take the law into their own hands, going beyond what has been dictated. Our urgent training, and I think this is implicit in what the Supreme Court has said when it says that the police chiefs of all these states will now have to immediately file a report with the court on what actions they've taken in the past.
Mr. Dayal, how would you react? And this is a reaction that has come in, which is why I'm asking you this question. Well, the Supreme Court hasn't defined hate speech. So who is to say what is hate speech and what is not hate speech?
Concluding, I said the police would have to find out within the CRPC, within the IPC, within the laws of the land, what is hate speech. I explained right in the beginning, hate speech targets communities. Hate speech leads to violence. Hate speech is not an exposition of the religion. Hate speech is targeting of somebody's religion, or even political parties. If you say all congressmen are evil, then the BJP men are invited to attack them. If you say all BJP men are evil, somebody else then. So this is again what I was saying. It requires extreme care and thought. And as a Christian, as a member of the minority committee, I was explaining that often these are used existing laws, the so-called Pakistani blasphemy laws, which exist in the Indian Penal Code also, identical laws, are often used against Christian pastors, saying that they were abusing a Hindu god, when all they were saying was that Christ is good. So the police discretion is increased, the responsibility of the police increases manifold, and policemen will have to be trained.
Okay. Okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you, John Dayal, for joining us. Majeed Memon, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. Can I start by asking you what your first reaction is to what the Supreme Court has done today? Now, apart from everything that they have said, they have also sought an action-taken report from the Delhi police in the alleged hate speeches that were made by BJP MP Parvesh Verma and others in Delhi, where they had asked for a complete boycott of the Muslim community. So that is something they have done as well. But your first reaction to what the Supreme Court has said today?
What Supreme Court has said today was long due. As a matter of fact, the Indian society has been suffering this curse, or rather an epidemic of spreading hatred among different sections of the people. Many times such, unjustified and provocative talks have resulted in violence, they have resulted in riots. Even Delhi riots, if you look back, were the cause of such irresponsible speeches by certain political leaders. And therefore, what is needed is that the action has to be promptly taken in a very effective manner. And the policemen are failing in their duty if they don't, detect this, prosecute the offender, and make it known to everybody that you are not supposed to exercise your freedom of speech without any restrictions. You see, you have right to speak.
Mr. Memon, I'm afraid your audio is completely breaking up. Can we just fix your audio and get back to you? Your audio is completely breaking up. So we'll just try and reconnect with you. Geeta Luthra, you're joining us on the phone line. As someone who was probably in the Supreme Court today, I don't know if you were. What do you make of what the Supreme Court has said and the fact that they're putting the onus on deciding what is a hate speech and then taking suo motu cognizance and then taking action against those who've made that hate speech? The entire onus now on the police. Is that a good idea?
I think it's a very good idea. The onus has to be on the police. It is the duty of the police. All of Indian Penal Code, all of criminal statutes is the police that have the.
Okay, I think we have lost our phone line too, Geeta Luthra. It's the big story we are tracking here on Mirror Now. The Supreme Court The Supreme Court is reading the Riot Act, as it were, on hate speech in India. They are saying, what have we reduced God to? Also now putting the onus on the police to take suo motu cognizance of hate speeches in India or around them, and then initiate action. If they don't, the Supreme Court is saying that it is the police that will be liable for contempt of court. Mr. Aniket Nikam is a senior lawyer. He is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Nikam, any first thoughts on what the Supreme Court has said?
In a vibrant democracy that we have today, there is no space for any hate speech. And what the Supreme Court has said is absolutely correct, because the enforcement agencies or the government cannot be an onlooker when hate speeches are being given left, right, center. It is the duty of the investigating agencies, the police, the enforcement agencies to take suitable action and not wait for somebody to come to them to lodge a complaint. Because even under CRPC, even a police officer, when he sees that an offense is being committed, he can lodge an FIR himself. So he need not wait for somebody to approach to them and then set the law in motion. And what the Supreme Court has said is the need of the day, and it's a welcome move.
Okay, we'll leave it there for the moment. This is the big story that has come to us this evening, which is why we thought we'll spend some time on it. Geeta Luthra, you were making a point before before we lost your connection. Go ahead, please complete it. Okay, we'll slip into a quick break on the show at this point of time. We'll get you more news on the other side. Do stay with us.